good with the YouTube fight fans all over the world? It's your boy, the realest of the real. Yes, sir. I said it. Real talk boxing. It is a privilege, an honor, and a blessing to be back at you beautiful people again. Let's jump back on Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence. You dig? Will this be Manny Pacquiao's last fight? Because I've heard a couple of people say that. This may be Manny Pacquiao's last fight. How many times have we heard that? A lot of times. Do I think this would be Manny Pacquiao's last fight versus Errol Spence? I think that all depends on how the fight plays out. That's what I think. We all know Pacquiao has already established a legacy. He is still a living legend. He is an active legend. And I still think he's Manny Pacquiao. I don't really focus too much on him being in his 40s. 42, 43. I don't focus on that. I really don't, because I typically judge a fighter by their last performance. And didn't Pacquiao win his last fight? Fight before that? Fight before that. Against younger opponents at that. Now, granted, they weren't Errol Spence, but he won, nevertheless. I think if Manny Pacquiao loses this fight against Errol Spence, which is very much so possible, I think he'll retire. I do. Especially the type of loss. I mean, should he lose by split decision? Probably, especially if it's controversial. But if he gets beat down by Errol Spence, which I don't see that. I just don't see that happening. I really don't. I don't see Errol Spence taking total control over this fight. I don't. And a lot of people are gonna disagree with me. But should Manny Pacquiao take a beating from Errol Spence, I think he will retire. Now, if Manny Pacquiao wins this fight, I just don't see. Now, honestly, I would. What else do you have to prove? I mean, you could possibly beat a unified welterweight kingpin, at the top of the top tier welterweight at that. What else do you have to prove? And if I was Manny, I would lay it down. I would just stop boxing and just stay in the Philippines and be the congressman that he is. I mean, there's a lot of people that still believe in Manny Pacquiao, such as myself. I mean, you have Benavidez who says, man, I'm not going to count him out. You have Timothy Bradley who says, man, I'm not going to count him out. You have Andre Ward who says, I'm not going to count him out. You have Mike Tyson who says, I will never go. I mean, Manny Pacquiao has upset so many people, it would be crazy to go against him. Manny's not your typical old fighter. He's not the old fighter that just sits back and waits for the younger fighter to make a mistake so he can counter. He's still moving, y'all. Have you seen the footage of him on the hand mitts? And I hadn't seen much sparring, but his movement's still there. His calves are so freaking huge. His calves look like thighs. And his movement and his speed is still there. Now, Loma said age is going to play the factor. Loma said age, despite what Manny Pacquiao can do, is age that's going to make the difference between him and when he faces Errol Spence. He said that is what's going to be his demise, his age. I don't believe that. I don't. I mean, you can take two fighters that are the same age, and some fighters, 42 years old, they're a 42-year-old fighter. You can tell that they're old, but some of them you just can't tell. And Manny Pacquiao is one of those fighters. Yeah, he's lost a step or two. But you got to understand, I don't care what elite level of fighter that you are, in any combative sport, you have things that you do repetitively. You have things that you do so much that it can be capitalized on. Just like Manny Pacquiao, just like Errol Spence. When we're talking Errol Spence has a bad habit of staying stationary too long after he throws combinations. He needs to change his location after he's done with his combinations. He doesn't do that a lot. Sometimes he stands right there in front of you. You got Manny Pacquiao. He has a bad habit of jumping in and jumping out. He'll give a quick double feint and he'll jump in. Juan Manuel Marquez is one of the few who caught him doing that. Knocked him spark out. He capitalized on it. So there's a lot that both fighters can capitalize on. And then you got Errol Spence. Who is he going to get to spar that can seriously emulate what Manny Pacquiao brings to the table? That's hard. Now, it's easier for Pacquiao to find sparring partners who can emulate Errol Spence. They probably won't be as strong as Errol Spence, but Errol Spence's style is easier to emulate than Manny Pacquiao. So you have that to play too. But do I think this will be Manny Pacquiao's last fight? It depends. It seriously depends. Because if he wins, listen, Manny Pacquiao, let me give y'all some facts. Manny Pacquiao says, man, I feel great. I feel like I'm in my 20s, my early 20s. He said this may or may not be my last fight. I'll take it one step at a time. And we'll see. I think if Pacquiao loses a close decision or gets beat down, he will retire. But if he wins, I don't know. In my opinion, if I was him, I'd hang up the gloves, but he may keep fighting. But for what? I'm leaning more towards him retiring after this fight. Because it's been 2 years since he's been in the ring. You have to take that into consideration too. What fighter do you know at 42 years old who's coming off a 2-year layoff to fight a killer? This is what separates Manny Pacquiao from all other feuds. Think Floyd Mayweather would do that? No. No. Do you think anyone else in the welterweight division would do that after a 2-year layoff? Come back in and fight a killer like Errol Spence? No. This is what people don't understand about Manny Pacquiao. He is willing to fight anybody and everybody. I'm not downplaying Errol Spence, Texas native, right up the street from me. The dude's a killer. He's a monster. But his legacy isn't near what Manny Pacquiao is, and any other boxer at that. Pacquiao has fought everybody. There is nothing that Pacquiao has not seen before. That's why I give him all the props. I give him props. Now, is this fight winnable for Pacquiao, the 42, 43-year-old Manny Pacquiao? Most definitely. But the age might play a factor. A lot of people are saying, not in my opinion. It will not surprise me if Pacquiao ends up pulling this fight out. Everybody. Not everybody. Some of you say, man, real talk, you are crazy. You're crazy. No, I'm not. I'm just stating what could happen. Because Errol Spence might come in and mollywop Pacquiao. That 2-year layoff may affect him. But who other than Sugar Ray Leonard, who came out of retirement to fight one of the biggest killers in the world? Y'all know who he is. Rest in peace, Hagler. Who else would do that? You notice it's another fighter cut from a different cloth. One of the throwback fighters that did that. None of these new age fighters are going to do that. But Pacquiao, too, he's cut from a different cloth. Because he's so old. He's 42. He's ancient, right? Who else do you know would do that? And this is what makes Manny Pacquiao great. And if he comes in and makes this and gets this win over Errol Spence, what else are you going to have to say about him? What are you going to have to say? He's one of the best, man. He's one of the best. And should Errol Spence beat Manny Pacquiao, he's on his way to be one of the best too. Listen, that's my thoughts on this. I'm leaning more towards Manny Pacquiao will retire after this fight. Depending on how it ends up, excuse me. But if he wins, I don't know. Even Manny Pacquiao doesn't know. He stated, man, I don't know. I'm going to take it one step at a time. Never mind what I'm talking about. I want to know your comments, and what you think down below. Let your boy Real Talk know. As always, respect all. Friend done. God bless. Till the next time, Real Talk Boxing. We up. And we out of here.